Hello, everyone, and welcome to another video here on the Cycling Dane Extra channel, or if you're listening on the Cycling Dane podcast. Today, we are looking at another World Tour race, and it's the Race to the Sun, Paris-Nice, the second biggest French race in the world. And to discuss all things Paris-Nice is, of course, Patrick Blake of Auto Cycling. But anyways, Paris-Nice, Patrick, a great race. I really like it. I think you also like it. I'm judging by what you said in Strade Bianchi, that preview. But yeah, last year we saw Matteo Jorgensen, the new boy, win as well. And yeah, Jonas Vingegaard finishing on the podium when Tadej Pogačar won it, becoming the first ever Dane to do so. But more about him later. But Paris-Nice, what does it bring to mind for you?
It always brings like crosswinds to mind. For me, it's usually a race where you see crosswinds, and there might be some opportunity for some in this race, and it does make some of the more flat sprinting days really interesting to watch. I think it's hard to point out a specific edition. The Sky era ones where, Bernal, Sergio Henao, even back in the day when like David de la Cruz was still like, I think he fought like Contador for a stage or final stage. So a couple of memories from there, and like Sam Bennett really ripping up sprints here. And for me, one of the most exciting times of the season when you get Paris-Nice, because you usually get Strade at this time of year and also Tirreno Adriatico. So you get loads of cycling, and as a cycling fan, it's probably one of the best times of the year.
And we also saw that 1, 2, 3. Do you remember that from Jumbo Visma? That was crazy on stage one of.
Yeah, Roglic, Wout, and Christophe Laporte. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was really cool, wasn't it?
yeah, you don't see that very often. But anyways, we might as well get to the route. What kind of route is it for the riders? Are we actually going from Paris to Nice?
We are, well, it's pretty much as close as you're going to get to Paris without causing some sort of major disruption. So, yeah, I think it sort of is. It's on the outskirts of Paris. So we go from Le Pellet-en-Yvelines to Le Pellet-en-Yvelines. This looks like the day which might have crosswinds in there. I've taken a look at the weather forecast. Weather forecast Patrick is back once again. It's looking like 13-mile-an-hour winds, which is, what's that in Ks? Like 21, 22, something like that, with some slightly stronger gusts. So this looks like the day where if there is going to be crosswinds, it's going to be today. But the stage is 156 kilometers long. There's a few category 3 climbs in there. There's also a intermediate sprint for bonus seconds, I believe, which is at the top of a 1 kilometer 6% climb. So that'll be really interesting to who's really up for the fight for GC, because you'll see some fight for bonus seconds there. But realistically, this should come down to a sprint. Stage 2 goes from Montesson to Bellegarde. Again, taking in a couple of category 3 climbs, but it's pretty flat, 184 kilometers. The wind's not too strong, so this should be a bit more of a absolutely nailed on bunch sprint. Stage 3, and we have a team time trial, much to Scott's relief because he loves these things. This team time trial is 29 kilometers long. It's rolling terrain. There's definitely some little kickers in there, which is going to certainly make it a bit harder for teams in terms of pacing strategies, but we've got some strong teams here. Of course, we had a bit of a preview to the team time trialing strength of teams in the Volta Comunitat Valenciana. There's certainly a lot of strong team time trialing units out there at the moment, let's say that. Stage 4, we go from Vichy to La Loge de Garde. The final climb, the La Loge de Garde, is 6.7 kilometers at 7.1%. The studious among you will remember this climb from the 2023 edition, where Tadej Pogačar won this stage with David Gaudu in close contention. It was the one where Jonas Vingegaard got dropped and lost somewhere around 40 seconds. It's not the longest or the hardest, but it should be a GC day. Stage 5, we go from Saint-Just-en-Chevelet to La Côte Saint-André. This has got like Liège-Bastogne-Liège vibes with a La Flèche Wallonne finish. It's absolutely crazy. There's short 1 kilometer climbs to 1.5 kilometer climbs at the end, with the last one being a category 2 1.7 kilometer 10.9% average climb, which is pretty tough at the end of, say, 50 kilometers where you've got at least 5 or 6 climbs in there. So it's going to be a really, really sapping day. I think this might be one of the stages to really tune in for. Stage 6, we go from Saint-Julien-en-Saint-Aubin to Berre-l'Étrange. Could be a breakaway day, could be a sprint. There's a category 3 climbs in there. Depends whether it's off-putting enough for the likes of some of the sprinter teams to really pace all day. This is one which could go either way, I think, but more likely to go to the sprinters. Stage 7, we go from Nice to Oran. This is pretty much net uphill when you look at it. They start at 28 meters and they finish at 1,600 meters. It takes in La Colmia, which is 7.4 kilometers at 7%. And then the Oran climb, the actual sort of proper climbing part is 7.3 kilometers at 6.9%, but pretty much the 30 odd kilometers into the base of that is going to be averaging something like 2 to 3%. So it's going to be one where the chain is going to be tight pretty much all day. And then the last stage, obviously, Nice to Nice, 119.9 kilometers. A little bit different to usual. It takes in the Col de la Porte, the Côte de Pays, the Col d'Ez, and then the Col de Quatre Chemins. It'll be interesting to see how this stage goes. None of the climbs are like too long or too hard. Maybe the last one provides an opportunity. So it'll be interesting to see how the GC situation lies at this point. But in theory, this should definitely be the last throws of the GC dice, so to say. And obviously, it was, well, we saw Remco Evenepoel winning this stage last year into Nice, and we also saw Tadej Pogacar win in Nice last year on the final stage of the Tour de France. So it'll be a familiar venue to all of us who have been watching those races over the years. And that is the 8 stages of Paris.
Very happy to see ASO being very team time trial friendly, but we're still waiting for that team time trial up Alpe d'Huez. I'm sure that's going to come very soon. But anyways, we might as well start with the favorites, and there is one favorite in this. He has never won Paris-Nice. His teammate has, and that is Jonas Vingegaard. Obviously, Jonas did very well at the Vuelta al Garve in hindsight with that very powerful time trial at the end. Didn't look all-conquering at Foya, got distanced by Joao Almeida. We'll talk about him later. But yeah, Matteo Jorgensen here in it as well. He was the one who won last year. And I don't know if he's going to be able to contend for it. But yeah, what do you think of Visma Lease A Bike's chances of retaining this and maybe Jonas Vingegaard being the first ever Danish winner of this race? He's the
I
first
think
ever Dane to podium this.
they've got a really good shot. Jonas plus Jorgensen is a very strong duo. Jorgensen obviously has come off of his altitude camp up in or down in Teed, depending on your orientation of the world. I guess it is up because it is a massive, massive volcano. So Jorgensen's come off of there. He's clearly looking to be in good form for this race. Otherwise, why would he bother doing an altitude camp? Jonas obviously hasn't. I don't think he has done an altitude camp. People can fact check me in the comment section. But Jonas is the overwhelming favorite for this race.
I saw Instagram because someone I know that knows him, he was in Denmark quite recently. That's not
Oh, really?
altitude.
That's definitely
That's
not
like the
altitude.
opposite.
It's negative, negative, negative. Kind of bonus hematocrit. Anyway, the point is, Jonas and Jorgensen is a really strong duo. They should be aiming to win this race with one of them. Like you say, they are the defending champions. And I think they've got a pretty strong team around them at the moment. It's not fully released, but they're also backed up by Campenaerts, Axel Zingler, and Persson Hageners. Obviously, I think maybe a one or two more rulers in there would be really good, or another climber in there as well, just to really give them some solid foundation for that team time trial. I think a lot on a lot of teams' minds is to try and be as close to the top of that as possible, because obviously you don't want to be losing heap loads of time. For example, last year there was also a team time trial, and I think it was Lidl Trek last year, which is kind of surprising because they won VTTT in the Volta Comunitat Valenciana, but they lost 2 minutes, I think, to the eventual winners. And as considering that they had Skelmos Jensen in there for GC, Skelmos Jensen would have actually finished on the podium if they did a better team time trial last year. So lots of teams focusing on that team time trialing aspect. And Vingegaard with Campenaerts, Jurgensen, and Persson Hagen is a really strong quartet. Zingler, I don't really know. So I think they've got a really strong shot of winning this. They are the overwhelming favourites, I would say.
I mean, if we to deduce something, because Tirreno is overlapping with this race, and don't worry, that preview is going to be on the podcast exclusive, so that's a reason to check out the podcast. Patrick, they are bringing Simon Yates, Olaf Koy, Stephen Kreuzvik, Daniel McClay, Ken Brooks, Attila Valten, Dylan Van Baal there. So, well, then we can kind of be like, who is in there might be filling that gap. I mean, Sepp Kuss, Wout van Aert. I don't know if they have any plans of Paris-Nice. Wout van Aert maybe needs a bit more racing in the legs, so Paris-Nice, he's done well here before. He's won the green jersey. He was instrumental in Roglic winning it in 2022. So, I mean, why not bring Wout?
Wow would make a lot of sense, but I think he is
Uh-oh.
currently up to
Have I missed something?
their volcano
Oh, right, okay.
too.
Yeah, but he can come back. They have flights every day.
Yeah, I think he's trying to
Paris
get his
to Paris to Tenerife. I'm pretty sure there's flights
uh
every day.
yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Just ship him in like the Stig in a Top Gear challenge and just, just put him in there just for the team time trial. That's what you need him for. I mean, if they sent somebody like Affini or Bart Lemon, for example, I think those would be pretty good additions to a team time trialing unit. So I think they've got a few options. And like you say, that other squad of Torreno seemed like riders who weren't particularly great at time trialing, other than say Dylan Van Baarle. So I think they'll probably throw another couple of time trialers in the direction of Paris-Nice.
What do you make of Jonas Vingegaard in 2025? The Vuelta al Garve, yeah, the time trial was good, putting 30 seconds into Joao Almeida. But do you think, is this a stronger, can Vingegaard get stronger? That's, I guess, the question.
Yeah, I think he can. I think that, I mean, Algarve, no offense to Algarve, I love it as a race, but I don't think Jonas would have been peaking in form for Algarve. Paris-Nice would be certainly a nice one to add to his Palmares, but does it make sense for him to be in such good form for Paris-Nice? I'm not sure if it's, like an absolute do or die, like you must win this sort of race. Maybe I've got Jorgensen here who can obviously win this race because he did so last year. So I don't think there's going to be too much pressure on Jonas to really kind of pull out all the stops and do an absolute worldy performance. So I think even the performance that we'll see of Jonas in this race, although it'll be the kind of the best he can do at the moment, I don't think it's going to be the best version of Jonas that we're going to see this year. I think realistically you're only going to see that maybe even only at the Tour, to be honest. They might even keep it cagey at the Criterium du Dauphiné. So I just think that Visma Lease A Bike are always really good at throwing up kind of smoke and mirrors towards us all. So it makes it really hard to predict what's going on. But Jonas, even without an altitude camp and even without being in great form, still puts him in the favourite status because he is just that good as a standard.
Can't disagree with that. But I mean, we might as well move on in terms of other teams. Yeah, I mean, I think we should go to UAE Team Emirates. They're looking very strong, even though we haven't got everyone. Doma Novak, obviously not going to be leading the team. Joao Almeida never finished higher than eighth in Paris-Nice. And he was the one we spoke about who rode away from Jonas Vingegaard in the Vuelta al Garve. Ivo Oliveira, I think he was European champion on the track, if I recall, recently. Brandon McNulty and Pavel Sivakov, who won the Tour of Valenciennes, no, the Vuelta Andalucia. So, okay, obviously they have more riders to come, but yeah, no, that's not happening. It would be nice, but no. Yeah, what do you make of Joao Almeida potentially getting on the podium, or is it Pavel Sivakov? I mean,
I would say UE, again, it's a tricky one to predict, but I would say Almeida is their best shot at doing well here because Algarve, he showed that, okay, he was in theory sort of in better climbing form than Jonas. Okay, maybe the TT he didn't do as well, but this is going to be a team time trials, and I think that Visma Lease A Bike and UE Team Emirates will be fairly similar in their time trialing performance. Okay, there might be 10 seconds here, 20 seconds there. In a race like this, that could be quite a lot actually, without the toughest of mountain stages here. I mean, we've only really got one mountain top finish here. The other ones are either a descent finish like in Nice or it's the really kind of like La Flèche Wallonne-esque punchy style stage. So maybe the team time trial will be more important than I'm making it out to be. But I think Almeida or Sivakov make the most logical sense. McNulty hasn't looked as good as he usually does at the start of the year, especially compared to last year. So I think Almeida and Sivakov should be the leading duo. And I think that Sivakov will be happy to see that it's a team time trial and not a regular time trial, because I think otherwise he'd be losing a bit more time. So I think they are the second favourites for sure in this race. Taking a look at the rest of the teams quickly, I think it's pretty safe to say that they are the second strongest team, which is no surprise because it's been these teams going head to head for the last few years now. So it'll be interesting to see how Almeida really stacks up, though, I think, because, like you say, he did good in Algarve, but can he back this up in a bigger race where he's not had the best history in the past?
I mean, if we're looking just at that team strength, obviously Ineos Grenadiers aren't fully filled out yet, but they're a team that loves time trial and they love team time trials. And right now, Bob Jungels, Tjerno Arisman, Magnus Sheffield, Josh Tarling. So if they add a few more strong cards in there in the TT, I think they would be all over that, to be honest. But I don't want to include them because they're not the favorites. So they're not in the favorite section, but I still think they could be favorites for that particular time trial now that you mention it. But a team that I do want to talk about is one of your favorite teams, Bahrain Victorious, because Lenny Martinez, Santiago Buitrago, and Jack Haig are the climbers that they've said now, and then obviously they'll fill it with some other guys. But Santiago Buitrago, I think, is a very interesting one because he looked absolutely savage at the Tour Valenciana, and then he's been second in Alpe Maritime behind Christian Scaroni. But yeah, like I think this could be maybe the year where we see Santiago Buitrago go from like a guy we kind of write off a bit and think, lower top tens, and maybe this could be it.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's crazy to think how this guy went from relative obscurity. I remember, back in when he first entered into this team, he won that Giro stage, and I was like, oh, this is a cool breakaway guy. And now he's really just year on year improved more and more. And like you say, he's had such a fantastic start to the year where he's also quite good on these punchy finishes. I mean, La Flèche Wallonne, I think he was fifth or sixth last year. Obviously, it was a very attritional version, but Buitrago is undeniably in fantastic form. And I think he's got a great chance of at least being inside the top five. I think they'll be realistically trying to get him on the podium. Bahrain Victorious did a good team time trial in the Volta Comunitat Valenciana, so they'll certainly be buoyed on by that to give them confidence that they can repeat that. Obviously, the three guys they've got in there at the moment don't exactly scream team time trialing strength, but they'll probably, to be honest with you, neither did their Volta Comunitat Valenciana team, but that still did some, that put seconds into UAE Team Emirates, who seem to have the strongest team there. So sometimes it's hard to tell the team time trialing team exactly what, just having a load of big time trials in there sometimes doesn't do the work. Sometimes it can be a bit more intricate than that. So I'm really interested to see what Buitrago can do. Great start to the year. Hopefully he can continue this on because I think that he is somebody who could really launch a bit of a surprise in this race.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, the team time trial, I just love the event. Sometimes when it goes wrong as well, it's quite funny as well. But that aside, Jaco Ayula, they are, of course, very behind their new golden boy in a way of Ben O'Connor. We have interviewed him here on the channel, but their team, Luke Plapp, we like Luke Plapp, but we often talk him up in a time trial and he often doesn't repay that faith. Michael Matthews as well, big fan of him, obviously, and Ben O'Connor. Ben O'Connor, that we have to say, world champion in the team relay together with Michael Matthews. Oh yeah, it's not a team time trial. Screw you, UCI, for axing the team time trial world championships. Oh my God, no, let's not go there. Too many open wounds. But Patrick, this team, interesting. Ben O'Connor 10th at the Tour Valenciana. His highest place, I looked this up for the other video, 12th place is his highest finish in Paris-Nice in his three appearances. The two others were DNFs. So I'm sure they'll look to right that wrong.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think Ben O'Connor should be getting inside the top 10. And if he doesn't, then something has probably gone quite wrong and not to plan. I'm just looking at the rest of their team, wondering about who I'd put in as their remaining like three riders or so. I mean, you could put in Durbridge, for example, or Patrick Gamper, Chris Harper, Hepburn, Kellen O'Brien, Mauro Schmid, obviously. Maybe that's a bit of personal bias. Walscheid, Suterlin. They've got a lot of big units to Jaco Alula, and they usually put in a very good team time trialing performance. It's almost one of the most consistently good performing team time trialing units that I've seen, even since the Orica Green Edge days, back in like 2015. This is a team which for a decade now has just churned out good team time trialing performances, and you got Ben O'Connor there who gets to benefit from all that. So I think this is a really strong team, and it really depends on how O'Connor goes for how the GC is. I mean, I say that maybe Plapp's also the guy. He got top 10 in this race last year, so maybe I'm writing him off a little bit too early, but I think realistically O'Connor stands a bit of a better chance than Plapp does, although outside of that one really steep finish, maybe the climbs do suit Plapp. They're like big diesel climbs, I suppose you could call them. They're not overly steep, they're just quite long and like 6, 7%, and Plapp usually does quite well on those. So I think they should be realistically aiming for a top five with O'Connor or Plapp. I think that should be the goal. And I think this team time trial unit is going to be a really good foundation to start that quest.
I think now we should kind of move into the outsiders, and we can each point out who we think are good outsiders. Obviously, Julian Philippe is here. Not really thinking about him in terms of GC. Team Picnic Post Danel is here, and obviously they have all my favorite riders, Tobias Lorna Dyson, who I've sprinted against, but that didn't end very well. But equally, on the rest day of the Tour de France in Orléans, I was in a group with Warren Barguil, Romain Bardet, and Fabio Jakobsen, and they were going hell for leather. So I think they could. I don't know. John Degenkolb as well there. But if you have like a sprint lead out, that normally does help you a bit. Anyways, that was a weird side point. Uh, but Patrick, shit, I've put Mathias Gilmour Jensen in the outsiders. Oops, last year's fourth place took stage win. Mes Pilterson's also going to be part of that train. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, Alexander Vlasov, is that what you're looking as well? One of your favorite riders, Florian Lipovic, in there, and only one Van Dijk as well. Do they work if they're
Uh,
split?
I know. The world's going to implode now that those two have been separated. Vlasov and Lipovic, yeah, that's a good combo. Vlasov was good in this race last year, and Lipovic, a little bit of a slower start to the year. As a matter of fact, so is Vlasov. Neither of them showing particularly fantastic form, so maybe a little bit on the down low, but as a team, it's looking strong. Mick van Dijk, Danny van Poppel, Vlasov, Lipovic, Ryan Mullen, Sobrero, and Zvijov. I mean, that's a team designed for a good team time trial performance. So they've clearly got aspirations. Lipovic is still eligible for the white jersey, so maybe that's a goal which they might be trying to achieve. He'll be going up against Skelmos Jensen and Platt to try and take that jersey. I'm just taking a quick look to see if there's any other riders who might give some stiff competition to that. Maybe some riders from Movistar. We'll come on to them in a second. But Red Bull, yeah, I think that's a really strong team. Skelmos Jensen will be interesting to see how he goes. Pedersen should be trying to get a stage win for sure. But yeah, Movistar, I want to give a quick, shout to because obviously Pablo Castillo and Ivan Romeo were such a fantastic duo in the UAE Tour. And I think that they'll be looking to do the same again. And obviously, outside of that one steep finish, I think this is a race really suited to Ivan Romeo, who's had such a fantastic start to the year. He won a stage in the Volta Comunitat Valenciana. Castillo, again, has had a great start to the year, so looking forward to seeing what they can do. And I would like to also give a shout out to Decathlon AG2R with Felix Gall, who was one of the only men with the Cahoolies to try and dare to attack Tadej Pogacar on the Jebel Jais. And I just, based upon that one like 200-meter stretch, I feel like Gal is a really good shout for this race. He's got a strong team around him. Amarai, Bissiger, Oliver Narsson, APP, Sander de Pestel and Callum Scottson. Decent time trialing units there. And I think that Gal, honestly, because he gets to hide his TT in the team, he could honestly be a top five candidate because outside, he didn't do well in the UE Tour. That's because he crashed on a sprint day and then he got caught out in crosswinds. But I think Gal could be a bit of a sleeper, that people don't expect to do well. So that's another one. But yeah, Ineos don't really have anybody available for GC. It'd be great to see.
Arnsman.
Oh, true, Aaronson.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, it's
there's
his first
top 10.
Paris-Nice as well, so that'd be quite interesting. He seems to go to Torino more.
Yeah, he does. I think that's just because it usually has a individual time trial in there, a bit more certain. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think Paris suits him a bit more than Torino.
Yeah.
Paulus, he was fourth in La Guelia the other day. Soudal Quickstep, Elan van Wilder and Schachmann. And other than that, I think that's about it for the GC prospects.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk a bit about the sprinters, but I think we'll summarize that a bit when we do the prediction. Yeah, I think this is predictions. Your top three, I think we messed that up pretty badly last year. Yeah, I don't think many people were seeing Jorgensen winning. I seem to recall Roglic being mentioned. But yeah, who's your top three?
There's just so many options, isn't there?
Are you going to say
Uh,
Vingegaard for the win?
I will go with, because I hyped him up, I'll say Felix Gall in third, Buitrago in second, and Jonas to win.
Fair enough. I'm gonna say Jonas in third place. No, Almeida in second place, and Buitrago wins.
Wow, yeah, I kind of forgot about Almeida. I think it's so close actually. I think when you got Almeida, Buitrago, and the two Visma guys, it
Yeah.
makes it really hard actually to get a prediction.
Obviously, we know I'm never going to pick Vingegaard for the win because then he definitely doesn't win. Who do you think is going to be the best sprinter? Effectively, the green jersey and most wins. I think that. Do you think it's going to be the green jersey winner wins the most? Yeah, you know what I mean. So you have two. I'm going to say Tobias Lohn-Andreasen wins two stages and Mads Pedersen wins the green jersey.
That's madness. I'll go with a nice easy pick then. Tim Merlier.
Oh, shoot, he's here. Oh, okay. Oops.
I was just like, oh, Scott's gonna take the easy one. Okay, yeah,
Oops.
Tim Merlier. I'll take that any day of the week. I think Merlier will win. I'll go three stages.
Are you counting if Quickstep win the team time trial? Does that count as a win for him?
No,
Oh yeah,
I
good
think.
point. Who's going to win the team time trial?
Oh, every bit of logic in me says that it should be the Ineos Grenadiers, but
Boring. I was going to pick
you,
that, so I won't pick it.
no, I was gonna. Okay, I'll go Ineos Grenadiers then.
Okay, I'll go Uno X. No,
What?
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, I'll say Visma Lease A Bike because Vingegaard looked very good at the TT.
Can't
But
stand those helmets.
yeah, oh my God, we're gonna see those stupid helmets again. Oh, I can't get around it. And there's a modification to it as well now, so it looks even more whatever. But I mean, I think that's basically it for this video. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We've got the Tirreno Adriatico is going to be available on the podcast, so check that out on Spotify. And make sure to check out Patrick's own channel, Audu Cycling, as well. And of course, we got many more previews to come because all the World Tour races are coming thick and fast. So be sure to check out those when they come. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.